Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And I wanted to bring this chart up again. And I wanted to bring this chart up because I wanted to talk about this in regards to Verizon. Because if this is to be taken at face value, right, T-Mobile is starting to really close that perception gap. Look at the chart where it says the strong improvement in network satisfaction among customers. Look at where T-Mobile was January of 2020, and look at how far they've grown that percentage as of June 2024. They're 2% behind Verizon. That is a massive improvement. So in the consumer's eyes, per this chart, T-Mobile is ahead of AT&T and just 2% below Verizon. Now, the reason I say this is interesting and why we need to talk about this from the Verizon perspective, because this might put Verizon in a tough position, right? Verizon is continuing to push premium network, premium postpaid brand under Verizon, which has premium pricing attached to it. So what does Verizon do to kind of defend their perception position and kind of keep T-Mobile away, right? Because if T-Mobile can ever get above the 82%, which, I mean, according to this, they're well on their way of doing so, then does the customer necessarily start perceiving that T-Mobile has the better network? We know that's not the case. And that's another reason I wanted to talk about this, because I want to bring up too, T-Mobile is that close and ahead of AT&T with still the smaller network. Now, I don't think T-Mobile's network is that much smaller anymore, and it's growing every day, but it's still the smaller network overall. So it might be Verizon's job to, or at least that should be the strategy shift. They really need to drive home the point and really find unique ways to push to the market why their network is better, and really just showcase that, yes, our network is the best network in the United States. Like, bar none. No one is better than ours. They really need to start driving home that point, right? And maybe that really just isn't the case anymore, right? Because you got to go based on the average consumer. Yes, you have some tech enthusiasts, you have wireless enthusiasts, right? T-Mobile calls them network seekers, but that's not the average consumer. You want to drive that point to the average consumer, and according to this chart, we got to call it out. T-Mobile's doing a better job at the messaging part of it and marketing and everything else versus Verizon. This should not be that close. Let's be honest. I mean, in a premium sense, right? If you're looking for an analogy, a Mercedes, a high-class Mercedes, right? It drives better. It has a much smoother ride, and it costs way more versus like a Ford Focus or whatever, right? But both of them can still get you from point A to point B. This is, and this I might be reaching, but this is like pretty much a Ford Focus, right? Or Ford being able to drive the point to the consumer that their car drives just as smooth, rides just as smooth, has the same capabilities as a high-class Mercedes-Benz. And that might be reaching, but that's what it's getting to. Verizon needs to figure out a way on how to create that separation again. And I don't know how they do that from a messaging perspective. We know, looking at the reality and actuality, it's happening, right? From an infrastructure perspective, owning their own fiber, building a ton more densification, building the macros, the small cells. We know it's actually happening in the real world, but the messaging is where I feel Verizon lacks. They really need to figure out how to showcase that their network is just that much better. Root metrics is no longer cutting it. They need to figure out something else. They need to really display this in their marketing somehow and figure it out, and quick, because it's eventually T-Mobile will surpass them in these types of studies, and it will look like T-Mobile by perception has the better network with a smaller footprint and perhaps still an inferior overall product. Because we got to look at every inch of the United States. Look at how many sites are without backup generators. And yes, that is still a massive amount. Without backup gens. Without who knows what, right? Without backup batteries. Without fiber to the cell, right? There are still some sites that are sitting on microwave backhaul. While that's not too bad, it could be a lot more capacity if fiber was ran to the cell. So that's just something that was on my mind. Like, I look at this chart in this study and it's like, what? T-Mobile is 2% behind Verizon and 2% above AT&T when they still lack X, Y, and Z. So they've figured out a way. I don't want to say manipulate. I don't want to say brainwash, but they've figured out a way to properly advertise, market, go to market, and properly showcase that their network is now equal and or better than the competition. They've been able to figure it out. I don't want to say they cracked the code, but they're very, very, very close to being perceived to have the best network. They are very, very close of pulling that off. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. See y'all in the next one. Peace.